Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
The other schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
this one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
The epitome of what this team has done, right? Gavin homers, Jace homers, Braden homers, Chris Cortez, 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Just going to give you some info that you already know, but just to remind you guys, Texas A&M baseball has not lost since they lost to who, OB? Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah, that's right.
In
the
Hoover.
SEC tournament, yeah.
That was on May 23rd of this year, obviously.
May 23rd.
So it's been
a month,
almost a month
Almost
since they last lost the game, and against the team that they're going to face here in the College World Series Finals. Since then, I'm going to tell you some of the teams A&M's beat.
Okay,
right?
tell me.
Are you familiar with Texas?
I am.
Louisiana.
Yes.
Oregon.
Yes.
Florida more than one time.
Yes.
Kentucky.
Yes.
Here's something for you to think about.
Left out Grambling.
Oh, this is true. I was just talking about certain.
I
ilk.
got you.
They've outscored all 8 of their last opponents, 60-24. That is a 4.5 run average margin of victory.
Yeah, it really is funny. We talked about this not long ago. How at one point in the season, A&M was just, I don't know if depending is the word, but was winning, was led in their winning by their offense.
Yep.
And now it's the pitching that's leading the way. And
I'd like for both of them to meet together.
Absolutely.
That'd be great these last 2 games.
That's what we all hope. But it is remarkable how it's kind of changed. And, you know, part of that's the injuries, but you also lost injuries into your pitching. And it's just the way the pitching has just really emerged in the second half of the season, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, but it just sometimes we forget, like we know they're in the finals, right? But there was, and I was guilty of it, like sometimes I just don't like the way we're playing right now. Like if it wasn't for a remarkable performance from Prager, if it wasn't for this, they're getting it, and they're getting it consistently.
Well, I'll be honest, and I think if anybody else is being honest, they probably agree with me. I was taken somewhat by surprise by what Lampkin did.
I was too.
I'm like, okay, I hope we can get through this. Wait a minute. What's Lampkin doing? He's outstanding. I mean, but that's what, that's what happens when you make a championship run. We talked about, there's going to be guys you don't expect it, and they're going to end up being stars, right? Well, I think Lampkin's a perfect example.
Perfect example. Caden Kent.
Caden Kent's a perfect example.
There's a few of them, right?
Two guys basically thrust into the situation, into the lineup, and have just, they say next man up's not enough. Those guys
grabbed
were
the bulls
thrust
by the
into,
horn.
They grabbed that bull by the horn. They grabbed it by the horn and hacked it like that poor old yak at the end of Apocalypse Now. I don't know if you remember that movie.
I do remember.
You remember
the
that
movie.
scene?
No, but I remember the movie.
Okay.
It was made in 1976, maybe.
Yeah, but they made that bull into burgers. Yeah.
Could use a burger right now.
I like burgers.
Breakfast. Me too.
I like burgers.
So, bottom line is, we're going to go throughout the show through some areas where these teams are very even, and there's some areas where I think A&M might be able to. So we're going to go through that throughout the program. Here's what we have for you. We've got 2/3 of the baseball bunch, okay? Scotty Clendenin. Familiar with his work?
Yeah, I know Scott very well.
Scott and Bronny. They will be together in separate places, but together on the show. No Richard Zane this morning. He's got some other things he's working on. And then 10 o'clock hour, I think we're going to have Billy Liucci. But I didn't tell you who we have at 8:35. Are you familiar with Dani Wexelman?
I've heard the name.
ESPN sideline
I
reporter.
always forget the sideline reporters' names.
Yeah, she's good. She and Chris Budden have been doing the sideline reporting for the College World Series. We'll have Dani with us here on the program. So that's what's coming up here on the show. Let's run our mouths. 3 things we want to see, brought to you by the Brazzers Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store, where you can find Brooks on Hoka shoes, located at the Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Obi, give me 3 things that you would like to see this weekend.
Well, win, and win, right?
1, 2, and 3.
I guess I'd only need 2. I want to see the pitching remain at the level it's been, right? Golly, it's been. With the exception
By the way, ours 3 is going to be the same, by the way.
I'm sure. With the exception of Cortez going out one time and struggling to find the strike zone, but they only gave him 7 pitches. He might have worked his way out of it. We've seen that. But the pitching's been spectacular. You know what? I want to see Cortez be, back on track.
I'd like to see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would really like to see that.
I want to see.
They're going to need him back on track based on, we don't know who's going to go game 1 or 2, but like Lampkin's probably not going game 1 or 2.
No, they're probably saving him for Monday if it comes to that, because just for rest,
Sure.
I would assume that Prager's going
4
tomorrow.
days rest.
I would assume that, but
Yep. But you never know.
I was assuming that he would pitch the first game in the College World Series, and he didn't. This is maybe a little bit unfair. I want to see, because of the injury and everything, I want to see Jake LaVallette break out of what's kind of been a home run drought and maybe a little bit of a slump.
Yep.
But he hadn't had a home run since Arkansas.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
When was Arkansas? That was the last series of the year.
Yeah, it was last home run was May 18th, if I'm looking at this correctly.
And he had 28 at that point.
Yeah.
He still has 28.
So I'd like to, see him break out of that and get some, do what we all know he can do. But I'm sure even at the plate when you're not running, but I'm sure that hamstring causes some issues there too.
Heck yeah.
And a third thing, it could be so many things. How many, do I want to see, because, everybody's, I've become a Caden Kent fan, so that's too easy. I'm trying to think that, I want to see them continue to play high-level, excellent national championship caliber defense in the field.
Yeah.
Man,
he's so good.
He really is. He's like the greatest. I always heard Ali was the greatest.
He is the greatest.
He's the greatest of
all
all time.
Played, Obi.
Ali.
So here are my 3.
I'm getting a good laugh from Matthew Dawson out of that.
I want to see the same thing you said about Jace. I want him to break out of this mini slump. And I recognize he's injured.
Yeah.
Right. But this is what I want to go specific. I want him to join the 30 home run club. He's got 28. Can I get 2 dingers from him this weekend?
Why not?
Come on.
We know
I'd
he can do
take
it.
5, but I want 2. All right.
Well, I want 5, but I'll take 2.
I want 7. I
want 8.
All right.
It's the price of right. Is
10.
Right.
Regardless, I'd like to see him get to the 30 home run club.
Yes.
Right? That would be phenomenal. And that to me means he breaks out of his mini home run slump, if you will. So that's one of them. This is kind of a little selfish of me, but I don't think it is. More brilliant pitching. Because teams that win College World Series and World Series at the major league level, these runs that pitchers go on, it's not like just one game sometimes, right? Like for teams to sustain the level of excellence, they have to have several great outings. And we've gotten some from Prager and from Lampkin. Let's continue that.
Yeah, keep the ball in the strike zone. As good as Tennessee is, that's dangerous. But giving them free passes, you're asking for trouble.
Yep.
Because, they're the number 1 team in the country in runs scored. They average like 9 runs a game, a little bit more.
I think yeah.
So you don't want to help them.
You don't want to help them.
Of course, you don't want to serve up meatballs either.
Here's the
because they can eat those like Brauninger at dinner time.
Here's the third thing I want to see. stay with what brought you here. All right? All the little things that we kind of overlook at times. Patience at the plate, right?
Yes.
Like, there was a couple times the other night where, I don't know if it was Gavin or somebody swung on the first pitch, which I used to love. Like, if you get that pitch that you want, let's go. Let's tax these pitching staffs, right? Let's do what brought you here, which is be the most patient team in baseball, walk the most that there is. Let's continue doing that because you get those crooked numbers when men are on base, and this offense can certainly produce some runs when men are on base.
Yeah. You know, there's so many things. I want to be aggressive but smart. You know, sometimes they've been aggressive and a little reckless. Even though I say that, but had in that last game, had the call at second on Grahovic been called correctly, because he was safe.
He was.
That may have been the great. Had he been called safe as he should have been, that may have been the greatest slide in the history of baseball.
But I knew he was out because I didn't think there was enough evidence to prove otherwise. But I thought he was safe. From what I saw,
when they started watching, I kept saying he contorted his body away from the tag. They didn't get it on there. He was never tagged. But yeah, they're saying, oh, well, I can't tell for sure. He wasn't tagged. But anyway, you know what? That was a reckless play. It took the greatest slide of all time to make it close.
Yeah. All right, so what do you want to see? I want to hear from you. 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. Obviously, you want to see the Aggies win the national championship, but get specific for me. I want to hear some things that you all want to see. You can call us up. You can text us, 979-693-1150. This is Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. We go around the room and say hello to the people. I believe Cade Bickham's last day as the director, not of all time, for this week because Nick Savage should be back from his sabbatical next week. Cade, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, y'all. Yeah, Nick Savage will return next week. So I know that it's been fun having me back here, but you know he's the man. He's the man. So.
I don't know if fun's the word I would use.
Maybe not fun. It's been interesting, I guess, is a better word.
Fun like a flogging is fun.
I don't think floggings are fun, OB.
We're joking, of course.
What's on your mind this morning, buddy?
You've done a great job for us.
Well, something that I would like to see this weekend, I would like to see our 5 through 8 hitters. I would like to see them keep raking. They've been the bread and butter. They've kind of been. I think they've been the key to our wins so far in the postseason. They've been finding ways to get on base. They've been the ones who've been actually, I think, stringing the most base hits together and getting the line moving, just station to station. And so I think those guys, continuing to hit well is super important this weekend.
No doubt about that.
No easy outs, man. No easy outs.
No easy outs. And also, if you can get just...
Hey, Grahovic started to look, he was breaking out of a slump.
Yeah,
I want him to continue to do that.
Heck yeah. Let's go to the hotline because we got a caller here, 979-693-1150. Cade, welcome to TexAgs. What's on your mind?
Hey, Dave.
Good morning, buddy. How are you? Didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out.
Yeah,
he had a very polite...
Good stuff, but
there you are.
No, yeah. How y'all doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. No, I just really wanted to talk about the impact that this team is having, nationwide. I'm living up here in Philly, moved up here after I graduated a couple of years ago, and it's really interesting to see how in places that really only teams like Penn State for the college areas, the A&M baseball team is making an impact up here, so they're getting recognized.
Huh? Is that like at sports bars or like at work? Like where are you hearing about the Aggies there?
I mean, all over. I got coworkers going, hey, I saw the game last night, and normally they only care about the Eagles or any one of those guys. So when you're actually getting to see, people who are wearing Penn State asking me about Texas A&M, it's really, really interesting.
It is interesting. I read somewhere that the viewership ratings is higher than it's been in a long time, maybe ever.
It goes back to what Schloss
and why is that?
Schloss says this is the golden era of college baseball. kids are staying in college to play ball that could go to the major leagues, right? There's NIL, there's more talent. This less minor league teams have all kind of been a part of why you're seeing more talent at the college baseball level. And I think people are getting into it on TV. Like SportsCenter is going out of their way to showcase it, which brings, not that anybody watches SportsCenter anymore, but it does. When Scott Van Pelt is constantly coming out of it, to discuss the game itself, I think it adds to the profile.
I guess, yeah, all that makes sense. But I think there's also some just good human interest stories that's come along with it.
No doubt.
But yeah, that's great. Send some football players down here like Tariq Chappelle.
Heck yeah. Hey, Kate, what are some things you want to see this weekend?
Well, I'd love to see us close out in 2. I think the pitching has been incredible. I will say it's been weird. I was there at the 7 overtime game, and I remember being so nervous. And now watching this team, I really don't feel stressed, which is something I've never had in my A&M fandom career.
Well,
so I'd love to see us close it out, but I think if we had to go to 3, I think the way that we're being coached right now is, I believe. So.
Well, I'd
like the hitting to get better.
Yeah, I'll give you that as far as the way the team's coached. I just have probably more confidence in the moves that the coach is making than I've had maybe in any sport in a long, long time. That said, unlike our caller here, I'm stressed on every single pitch.
I wasn't too stressed when they got it to 6-0, but I was stressed at 5-0. Yeah. It's weird how one run can
maybe I shouldn't say not stressed, but I feel a lot better about coaching decisions and being able to get out of the jam.
I'll give you that.
Yep, no doubt about that. Hey, Kay, thanks for the call, man. Keep repping A&M there in the Philly area.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Gig'em.
Gig'em. All right, appreciate that. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. That's where we find Matthew Dawson. Matthew, Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. I bet you know that. What's going on?
Well, what I wanted to see this weekend, because I know you were probably wondering, David.
No,
I want to see
I didn't ask.
Josh Stewart sliders. How many of them? As many of them as possible. Because that thing was wicked crazy. It was like a Frisbee that he was throwing.
It sounds like if I had a hamburger place, I'd add that to the menu for NIL. Hey, come in and get an order of
the Stewart sliders.
Josh Stewart sliders.
Good idea, buddy. Somebody's listening. T-shirt idea? No.
Hamburger idea. Because we've been talking about hamburgers.
Yeah.
Hamburgers.
We got a text from Gregory in Houston this morning. He says, "Morning, guys. I'm tired of hearing the TV announcers about how limited the offense is now without Braden. Seems clear to me the middle and the bottom of the order has been the source of many runs and kept us winning games. Thanks and Gig'em."
Look, I don't know Carl Ravitch, Eduardo Perez. I think they're doing a great job. And I've talked to Kyle Peterson a few times.
So somebody on our thread is saying one of the guys, I can't remember which one, they said it sounds like me. Or maybe I should say I sound like him, but apparently he has a bad voice too.
Eduardo Perez,
maybe.
No,
it wasn't him.
Kyle Peterson?
No, I don't think it was him.
Carl Ravitch?
No, definitely wasn't him.
Pablo Escobar?
Yeah, that was
Mike Monaco?
I can't remember which one.
I just gave you everybody. There's no more left.
Is there a Burke?
No, Chris Burke.
Is there a Burke?
Yeah, he's been on the show.
It.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
It.
I'll get Chris Burke on the show soon. How about that? So here's my, and it's not because I know these guys. Like I know Tom Hart. I know some of them. I don't know all of them. Obviously, I don't know Carl Ravitch. I don't pay that much attention to what they say, really. Like every once in a while, when I'm listening to Monaco, Bronny, Will, I'm paying more attention. And it's no shot at the ESPN guys. I'm just kind of, maybe it's because I'm a broadcaster. I'm paying attention to the game, not to the announcers.
I like actually, and
I don't mean disrespect.
I might get run out of town for saying this. I like Ben McDonald when he calls a game. I think
you like Ben?
I do. But you know what? And I think Ravitch does a great job. I hesitate to say this because I don't want to pour gas on a forest fire. But Dan Brauninger's good at it, and he's better at color commentary than he is at eating.
I knew you were going there. I knew it.
Spectacular.
I didn't want to finish your joke for you, but I was like,
I'm not joking.
I don't think I've witnessed Bronny eat very often, so I can't answer the question.
Oh, yeah, it's like a grizzly bear, man.
Yeah. Matthew, what else?
Well, I did want to talk about, I do want to see Tennessee held to under double-digit runs in every single game. You know, as good as A&M has been when we score double-digit runs, I believe we're 25-0 when we've scored double-digit runs. Tennessee is 29-0 when they've scored double-digit runs. You know, and we've done a good job with the pitching, but I'd like to see the pitching hold.
So
Make them 10-3 or 3-C.
3-C. I think if I remember correctly, Tennessee has outscored their opponents like 25-10 or something like that. But one of those games was the 12-10 win.
12-11 against Florida State. The walk-off where the guy, you know, I mean.
Wait, he struck out, but they said he didn't.
Struck out, yeah.
Look, it's the finals. It's not supposed to be easy. The national championships.
I want it easy.
I know.
I want it as easy as possible.
I want them to be playing. You know,
there's a show.
I would say I want them to be playing Texas Rio Grande Valley, but you know they beat the Longhorns, so they can't be. I just thought I'd throw that in.
Let's do this. Let's hit a break so we can get back on the clock, as Dani Wexelman will be joining us here soon. Aggie headquarters is in Omaha. You want to go hang out with a bunch of Aggies? Go watch the Aggies beat the hell out of Tennessee. Now we know who it is. The Association of Former Students wants to invite you and the 12th Man Foundation for a pregame gathering at the Aggie headquarters located at DJ's Dugout Sports Bar in downtown Omaha. The event begins 3 hours before each Aggie game and wraps up 30 minutes prior to the first pitch, giving you plenty of time for that 12-minute walk to the stadium. Enjoy good bull with fellow Aggies and free registration that includes snacks, complimentary drink ticket to kick off the game day festivities. Make sure you head over to the Aggie headquarters in Omaha to get ready to watch Aggie baseball. For more information on the event or register, visit tx.ag/OmahaHQ. Again, that is tx.ag/OmahaHQ. Welcome back in. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jill Drollo Insurance Studio. All right, OB, let's go. Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations, Rollo Insurance Studio. I said it. Just wanted to make sure I said it again. So, Keith, who works at Rollo Insurance, texted me this about Bronny. And let's see where Keith, here it is. It's, my dad says that Brauninger is the best commentator since Lowell Pass.
Well, I don't know Lowell Pass, but he must have been really good because I kid around and everything about Bronny, but man, he's really good. I mean, you talk about it's like finding a fish in water. This is where he is meant to be.
Yes,
he is so good at it.
I got some key notes for the audience and for you to consider. Right. So Tennessee has scored 6 or more runs in 45 games this year. In that stretch, they are 42-3. Okay. So key to this game: don't let them score 6. Right, which I think A&M's pitching has been doing a great job about that. So 42-3. I'm going to give you A&M's numbers along similarly. In games decided by one run, Tennessee is 7-2.
Okay.
A&M in games that are one run,
7-2.
No, 5-4.
5-4. Interesting.
So a couple more losses there. Let's see what other notes that I have for you.
I wonder what A&M is when they've scored 6 runs.
I'm glad you asked that question, OB. It just wasn't in the right order for me. The Aggies are 40-2 when they compile 6 or more runs. So what I'm saying is score 6, give up less than 6, yes, and you win the College World Series.
Yeah, for some reason I'm thinking it's going to have to be those games where you're probably going to win 4-3. 5-4, even because A&M's going to have great pitching, and you're playing a team with really good pitching. So
you're playing a team with the best offense.
Well, yeah, I know, but
is it 5 guys with 20 homers?
It's true, but there's the line that's repeated all the time, and it's not 100%. Nothing ever is, but they always say elite pitching will beat elite hitting in baseball, and typically that's true. So, let's count on some elite pitching.
Let's hope we get some elite pitching. So here's an interesting note. So A&M has never won a College World Series. Tennessee has never won the College World Series. One of them will be the 6th different SEC team to clinch a national baseball title in the last 7 tournaments.
Let's see, who are the others? Mississippi State, LSU, Florida, Vanderbilt, and South Carolina?
Yeah.
Is it South Carolina?
I think it is. Are we right about that? Matthew, do you know? I don't want to, say that again.
Well, it would be, so the other 5 are Mississippi State, Florida, LSU, and Vanderbilt. So this would be the 6th one.
Well, OB, I've got the numbers for you. LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Vandy, Florida. Florida's the other one.
That's 5.
That's 5?
Yeah. Okay. So here's how stupid I was. I named the 5th one, and I kept thinking, who's the 6th one? Duh. The 6th one, Olin, is A&M or Tennessee. But, I'm just going to say A&M.
So, and I'm looking at championship history. That stat that I pulled out can't be right because in the middle of it, we have 2020 was canceled. You had Oregon State win in 2018. So you had that in the middle of that.
When Arkansas, I think, came one foul ball away from winning it.
That's right.
Seriously.
No, tough break, pigs.
And last year we had an all-SEC final. The year prior, we had a pseudo all-SEC final. Oklahoma not in the SEC, but they lost to Ole Miss.
Right.
The year prior to that,
all-SEC final.
Mississippi State Vandy.
Yeah.
The year prior to that, so 2019, I keep saying prior, Vandy beat Michigan.
And
then
that's surprising Michigan was there because you don't hear about a lot of Big Ten teams playing in the championship game then.
So 2018 is the year that we were mentioning Arkansas. Oregon State won that championship. 2017, an all-SEC final between Florida and LSU.
Yeah. Yeah, Florida and LSU, that's not surprising. 2 big-time college baseball programs. So you'd expect them to play in the championship game.
And when you think about A&M,
I want to get to where the A&M you expect them to play in the championship game.
Interestingly, I think I expected them to play in the
series, I should say,
in the finals this year. I think I expected it. Now, there's always the Aggie in me like, I don't know, we're going to have a hiccup, we're going to get some injuries. This team they go over speed bumps.
It is. To me, that's the most remarkable thing about this team is, and if I was up in Omaha, one of the things I would ask Schlossnagle is there a way to cultivate that mental toughness that you lose players and you keep coming back? You get in big deficits and keep coming back. You have something like a bad play or a bad call going, you keep coming up. Can you cultivate that, or is that just an innate quality that certain guys have and you're just fortunate enough to have a bunch of them?
I think it's a combination of things. You have to get guys like that, if I were to answer that. But I do believe.
And then if he says, well, you can cultivate, how?
Well, that'd be a good question. But I think the teams can take on the personality of the head coach, right? So,
I think that's a
Tennessee players a little bit more brash. Well, look at their head coach. A&M players are fun, and Schloss allows them to have fun. But I do see a more business-like approach.
I think you just said something that's so true. I think it's to me the two truest cliches in sports is never underestimate the heart of a champion.
Rudy Tomjanovich.
It's so hard to beat a team that knows what it takes to win.
Yep.
And then the other one is a team takes on the personality of its coach. I believe that 100%.
Because it all starts
good
with the work.
and bad.
Yeah, you're right about that. And we've seen it.
Yes.
We've seen it across the street. OB, I believe, I might be wrong here. You've been to Varsity Grill House.
I have.
Did you like it?
I did. I really did. And I didn't have the chicken fried steak, but a guy next to me had one.
And you wanted it.
I wanted it because not only did it look good, but it was massive.
It was huge.
Yeah, but I had a really good burger.
Okay.
We're back on the burgers today.
But it's a lot of burgers.
I've already forgot. I met the proprietor.
Yep.
And I've already forgotten his name. I have his card. I should look it up. But anyway.
I met him at a baseball game. Super nice.
Maybe he needs to come up with the Josh Stewart sliders.
Well, he could
three of them. That's 1, 2, 3, and you're out.
I'll take every one he has. Every single one.
Well, and he's from the Brenham area, so he might have something for Evan Ostenbeck as well.
For Ostenbeck, I bet he would.
Ostenbeck. All right, so if you want to go, it's a new spot here in town. Food cravings, hang out with your friends. Look no further than Varsity Grill House. Aggie-owned and conveniently located in front of the Academy on Highway 6 in College Station. They have farm steaks there, sizzling burgers, the savory farm steaks. They have a dozen signature cocktails at the bar. We've got something for everyone. Treat yourself to mason jar desserts, the perfect ending to a great meal. You got it? Yeah, Brett, Mr. Brett. I met his son too. Very nice, both of them. Let them cater your needs with top-notch catering services, and don't forget, they are your destination for hosting unforgettable gatherings. Swing by Varsity Grill House today and taste the difference. It is Varsity Grill House, your home for good times and great food. See you there. And we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. David Nuño, Olin Buchanan, College World Series. The finals begin tomorrow, OB.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes, they do. I'm looking forward to it. I know what I'll be doing all weekend.
Watching baseball?
I will be scheduling everything around watching the College World Series and that outstanding job the people that are bringing it to us do.
Yeah, well, look at that segue, my friend. Let's go right now to the hotline. Dani Wexelman has been roaming the sidelines, if you will, there at the in Omaha, and she joins us here from ESPN on TexAgs Radio. Dani, good morning. How are you?
Oh my gosh, how lucky am I that you guys would want me here with you, being on this show, getting to do this, talking baseball, college baseball, Texas A&M. Huge fans of what you guys do, and really respect the work you guys have. So excited to be here this morning.
Well, thank you for joining us. How has the Omaha experience been for you?
The best. I mean, listen, this is a dream of mine to get to do this. I wrote this down in my journal a long time ago. I wanted to sideline the College World Series, and you never really know if you're going to get to do all the things you hope in life. So it's an absolute dream to cover the game and be a part of, as you said, the crews are incredible. I think this year, this field, I will say, I think some of the best teams, coaching staffs, SIDs that I've worked with, top to bottom, some of the best. So it was a treat for me. I'm back home now. So I will also be scheduling everything that I am doing around the games coming up.
Dani, we talked about it earlier. The reports are that viewership is really, I don't know if it's an all-time high, but it's very high. What do you think is the reason for that? Is it just the quality of the sideline reporting, or what?
Yeah, obviously it starts with us on the field, Chris Budden, who does the night side, and then myself. No, oh my gosh. I mean, think about it, right? You've got the two powerhouse conferences that are so well represented, some of the best talent in the country. You've got top prospects. The draft is coming up in a couple of weeks, so you're seeing that talent littered all across the lineups. And I will say it's maybe not quite as bright or strong as last year with Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz as the 1-2 punch, but don't get it twisted. The talent is just as good here, even if we might not have the number one overall pick here in Omaha. You still have the really, really good players. But again, it goes back to the coaches, right? Having personalities. When you hear them in their interviews, when you listen to Tony Vitello speak, Jim Schlossnagle is one of the best to do it. I told him when he's done with his career, he better join me in a broadcast booth. So Link Jarrett at Florida State. So I think all of those things combined, and the baseball guys, it's the baseball, have brought more eyes to the game, which is really special.
So, Dani, when I'm preparing for these series, I look at teams and I say, all right, this is where they could be vulnerable. This is where A&M can get them. I look at Tennessee, excellent pitching, the best offense, 5 guys with 20 home runs. Where are they vulnerable? Are they?
As the best team, you think? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm just saying, is Tennessee, where are they vulnerable?
They're 1-2. Like, if you look statistically at their numbers, it's actually really terrifying, guys. If you look at the offense, right, and what they've been able to produce, getting on base, the power, the walks, the average, everything about it, they are 1-2 in this field of 8 in Omaha, which is really scary. I think what's ironic, though, is while you see Texas A&M, who loves to walk, they lead the pack in walking. Tennessee's pitching staff has given up the fewest walks. So there are all these little nuances that you're going to see when it comes to the power of Tennessee, right? And Texas A&M, and they're dominating the zone, right? They do a really good job of not giving up free passes, of limiting the long ball. Max Wiener has done a really great job of that in his first season. And so they are 1-2 in every aspect of the game. And they're here, I think, with a little chip on their shoulder. They haven't performed the way that they've hoped to, I would say. And both of them will win for the first time for their programs, which is really special.
In covering it, this last week, is there anything about Texas A&M that surprised you or that really made an impression on you about that team or any individuals or anything like that?
I mean, if you're looking at a team that is down for the count right now and finding ways to win, that's what I have circled in red pen. It's miraculous. That's the word that I would say for what they've been able to accomplish without Braden Montgomery, without Sato. And now you have Jace Laviolette, who's dealing with his hamstring and still grinding it out and finding a way. So yes, Caden Kent, I think, is the guy that I've been absolutely looking at as the dude who's been able to step up. He's waited his turn. He's been patient. I talked to him about that. I know you guys have talked about that as well. That sometimes you don't get what you want when you get to college, and you think you're the top dog, and you've got that last name maybe, and so you hope to be able to contribute, and you've got to wait, and that stinks. That's not fun for a kid. But you get to Omaha, and now you're shining, and now you're a really important and impactful piece to this lineup and to your field. That's a big deal to me. So I think it's a testament to the staff, Nagel, and giving his kids the confidence. Max as well, the difference in their pitching staffs this season, another shutout on their belt. They lead the nation in shutouts, and that's not a coincidence. That's a testament to what he's done, the confidence he's given to their kids. And so for them to be able to get to this point with the injuries they've sustained to some of their best guys. Oh, and by the way, Chris Cortez maybe not being as sharp as they would hope, they still have the depth to get it done.
Well, I want to talk Justin Lampkin for a moment, because he's one of those kind of stories like Caden Kent. He was obviously a starter all season long, but I don't think anybody expected the 2 performances he's given Texas A&M. What was your perspective of the way he's been able to pitch?
Yeah, I think when you get on this stage, the first inning is the most important inning, and he's had 2 of those now to deal with. And so to watch him get through that, navigate, and allow him to kind of settle in, find that confidence. Here's the thing, guys, when you know you have the offense that you do and the bullpen that you do, and your team gets a chance to get ahead or get a lead, or you at least keep the game close, I think that what he can accomplish. Listen, guys rise up to the occasion in these moments. We see it every single season when we get to Omaha. The unsung heroes of the season that maybe you weren't paying enough attention to because their numbers weren't striking you, but their coaching staffs knew what they were capable of. And I'm sure that they all knew what Lampkin was able to do, but maybe hadn't seen it quite yet in the regular season. And this is when it counts. And it's really special because it is not easy to get out on that mound. I'll tell you this, I saw on Media Day, Frank Anderson, he's the pitching coach of Tennessee. And maybe every team did this, but I was inside doing interviews, and I went outside, and he had every one of his pitchers stand up on that mound to be able to get the feeling, the sensation, see the background, just understand what it's going to be like. So your first time stepping on a mound in Omaha isn't your first time in a game. And I'd imagine that these coaching staffs have prepared all these teams really well to do something like that. But the unsung heroes to me are one of my favorite parts of Omaha, and Lampkin's done a fantastic job for his team.
We all know about the power of Tennessee. Beyond that, what gets your attention about Tennessee beyond the fact that, they can be down by 3 or 4 runs and going in the 9th inning and still have the power to come back and win against Florida State?
They're relentless, guys. There's no breathing room 1 through 9 in that lineup, and they know how to bash baseballs. They know how to create chaos. They're not going to steal as much as Texas A&M will. That is something that the Aggies do really well and definitely have the advantage on when it comes to creating some chaos and playing a little more small ball in that regard. But 1 through 9 in the Volunteers lineup is really, really scary at any moment, and they can hit it out of the yard at any moment. And so that's really where the danger comes from. They're not swinging at pitches outside of the zone. Their plate discipline is off the charts. So it again, the pairing of what the Aggies can do on the mound with Tennessee and how they approach themselves at the plate and the way that they can navigate walks and navigate an at bat and make their pitchers work, right? It is often them getting into deep counts, them getting their pitches and making sure that they do damage when they do. And so it is a really uncomfortable at bat most of the time against Tennessee. And they've done it all season long, and even more so here in the postseason, what they've done in regionals and super regionals. The momentum is clearly carried and they're feeling extremely confident. I will say that.
Dani, great stuff. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's do it again at some point.
I hope so, guys. Enjoyed this weekend. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Dani Wexelman there from ESPN. Good stuff.
She knows her stuff.
Yeah, she does.
Like what you said about Caden Kent, it's kind of like she says, she's repeating kind of like what the coolest guy in rock and roll history, Mick Jagger, once said. It's, you don't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you get what you need.
I didn't know Justin Timberlake said that.
No, it was Mick Jagger.
Oh, you sure about that?
Yeah, the coolest guy in the history of rock and roll.
Does the coolest guy in rock and roll go to jail?
Yeah, he's been in jail.
In jail too. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with Around Aggie Land.
I think it's required.
Bank on it. We're going to bank on something. Right now, though, we're talking Rollo Insurance, the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. Keith just texted me little while ago chime in on the program. The difference is real when you work with Rollo Insurance. They are the best when it comes to finding you the insurance that makes your family kind of feel that you're secure, right? They will find the right one for you. They're going to do the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They can write any form of insurance to anybody in the great state of Texas and several other states as well. They got 53 offices now here in Texas, and their headquarters is on Highway 6 right here in College Station. That's why you can see Jason, Jackson, Morgan, you name it, Keith, all over town because they are part of this community. They love being here, and they've been taking care of Aggies and really just everybody in Texas for a long, long time. Call them up at 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. That website is rolloinsurance.com. Yes, you did. Just And we're back on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Matthew Dawson is going to join us for Around Aggieland in a moment. But before that, let's bank on it, OB. Presented by Vera Bank, authentic relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more, verabank.com.
Yeah, I'm low-hanging fruit, but, I'm banking on that pitching staff. I'm banking on Prager being at his best. I'm banking on Lampkin continuing to pitch at the level he's pitching. I'm banking on Cortez bouncing back and Oshenbeck just being awesome back and just Stewart just what's going on with that guy. So I'm banking on that pitching staff leading the way for the Aggies this weekend.
Well, I'm banking on something similar. Ryan Prager pitching another Ryan Prager type of game. I'm banking on that. And I'm going to go a little bit further. I said it earlier in the show. I think Jace Lavallette going to give us 2 bombs this weekend.
Well, I hope you're right. Like I said, I hope it's 5.
I'm banking on it. I'm not thinking. I'm banking on it.
You're not thinking. You're banking.
No, I don't ever think, OB. You know that.
I know that.
Yeah. Thank you for agreeing with me. I appreciate that. Around Agadan, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com. With that, we have Matthew Dosson.
Well, I mean, if you haven't been listening to the show, you obviously know there's baseball going on this weekend. 6:30 Central Time on Saturday, 1 p.m. Central Time on Sunday, and if we need it, 6 p.m. at that time. So make sure that everyone's locked into those TVs or you're at the games in Omaha. Moving on to A&M track and field, the U.S. Olympic trials.
Going on right now.
Today, all the way through June 30th, the Aggies have 28 participants in the Olympic trials.
All right.
Coach Pat Henry himself has coached 43 Olympians in his tenure at A&M, including 3 athletes getting medals in the last Olympics. So that's going to be awesome. Good luck to those athletes out there. The A&M volleyball team just announced its full 28-game slate. We had the SEC schedule come out earlier a couple weeks ago. We knew that we got LSU and Texas, 2 games each, and then the rest of the teams for only 1 time. But in the out-of-conference, we get a unique matchup with Wisconsin, who was actually a Final Four team this past year, so should be a really good matchup there. A&M football also hosted a prospect camp yesterday. It's been kind of crazy in the recruiting world as of recent. Jason and Kate have been doing a great job on TexAgs, so they covered that. Make sure you guys are checking that out as well. And, I mean, they hosted players from all over yesterday. I mean, obviously Texas, right? But Tennessee, California, Arizona.
Sweden, Nigeria, Canada, UK.
Yeah, all over.
You've been watching the Euros, haven't you?
No, actually, I had a column today about the guys that came over from across the Atlantic.
Yeah, I was watching a lot of
In
skill
fact,
guys.
they offered a scholarship to a tight end from Sweden.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
I was watching a lot of the skill guys and the quarterbacks go, and there's some guys slinging the pill.
Well, they better be, or Texas
Younger
A&M
guys.
wouldn't be recruiting them, right?
Right. You're right about that.
So, but speaking of guys slinging the pills, you saw on Longstreet, A&M quarterback commit.
Elite 11?
Elite 11. You know what? And I am not at Elite 11, but if you want to look at the professionals talk about it, it seems like he's consensus kind of top 3, top 5, playing through a leg injury.
Yeah.
By the way, everybody's saying he's got the best arm out there.
Yeah, which, I mean, love to hear that.
You're not at Elite 11. I'm not even sure you're at 411.
Wow. Goodness gracious.
I mean,
he is shattered. Just shattered.
He's 5 feet.
He's got to be 5'1" at least.
No, he's 5.
Okay.
He's straight 5.
At least. You ever seen him wear boots? I'm at least 5'6" boots. Come on.
We got about 30 seconds, or maybe not even that. What else?
Well, former A&M softball players Trinity Cannon, Jasmine Hill, and Rylan Wiggins are all debuting their professional softball careers in the Women's Professional Fast Pitch League. I believe that actually began yesterday, so good luck to them.
Thank you, sir.
You got it.
OB, thank you, buddy.
You bet.
When we come back, the gentleman from the baseball bunch, 2/3 of those guys. We'll get into that next on TexAgs Radio. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We're going to have 2/3 of the baseball bunch with us as Ryan Brauninger is live in Omaha. Scott Clendenin is joining the show here momentarily. Let's go straight to that hotline. That's where we find Ryan Brauninger. Have you been able to sleep at all, Bronny?
Yeah, yesterday was actually good for all of us, I think, in the house to kind of get recalibrated on our sleep because just the way the game went on, I don't even know what day it was anymore. Like, it's hard to keep up with your days up here. But after the Florida game, just kind of how the game went, and then, I'm the old guy in the house, right? So I drove everybody around after the game. But they had a good time. They stayed up for a while, and they should have. And everybody was very celebratory, and so yesterday was good for everybody, including me, the old man here in the house, to get some rest and get caught up.
Ryan Brauninger's with us, and I believe Scott Clendenin has joined us here. Scotty, what's up, man? How's Omaha?
Oh, it's wonderful. I mean, this is an experience to be here late into the week, and I think probably echo what Bronny just said about how a day off came in a good time for everybody. But I imagine at some point today, everybody will get pretty itchy to get on the field tomorrow evening.
At some point, we got to fix that screen. We'll do that at the break. Let's talk about when you guys knew. Okay, like Bronny, Scotty, when did you know? There we go, Scotty. When did you know that this team not only had the potential to get to the finals in Omaha, but would likely get to the finals in Omaha? Like, you were kind of banking on it, if you will.
I can say that for me, to get to the final, it didn't happen until probably maybe the win over Kentucky. Like, because of the injuries, right? Like, if you would have told me that this team was coming to Omaha fully loaded, then I would have anticipated that A&M team at full strength to get to the finals. But just all the question marks because of the injuries, and then obviously Jace's now hamstring issue. Like, it was just tough for me to go, okay, like, how long can this run continue with just this overwhelming adversity facing this club coming out of that super regional? And they've answered the questions, man. Every time that somebody has been asked to step up, they have in a big way. And that's why this team is like, it's so much more than the individuals now. And we know that, and we've known that for the entirety of the year, but that's what's come to the forefront, I think, over the last 10, 14 days.
Scotty?
Well, I think that I'm watching the Kentucky-Florida game and the way the park was playing large. I thought that I wanted to see more pitching used by Florida. That gave me a pause when they really didn't have to go deep into their bullpen, because I wanted A&M to have the advantage of being the 2-0 team. I think we learned a couple of years ago when we were here playing Oklahoma is that an A&M team that was playing pretty good ball all of a sudden had an issue playing Oklahoma the second time. So I think that is an advantage. A&M was able to take control of it. I thought that first inning, when you're getting on what is their best starter the second half of the season, and being able to control that ball game and get the 1-0 lead, excuse me, especially the way they were commanding the strike zone, I thought that was going to lead to a pretty good day. And, because I thought that eventually if they were going to struggle with this guy, when you could get into their bullpen, you were going to have the kind of success offensively. And I thought the first game, A&M hit some balls hard that didn't, that Florida, being a premier defensive team, made some plays. They did that in the outfield in the last game. But, A&M has had a good ability to hit the ball against Florida, especially up here. And, I thought that after that first inning, A&M was going to be sitting in the driver's seat.
Scotty, Tennessee is known to hit the long ball, but they do a little bit of everything. And it's interesting, as I'm preparing for today, I'm Googling College World Series, A&M, Tennessee, and a lot of the headlines, I'd say 90% of them were more geared towards Tennessee, of what they've been able to do. And I'm not saying that as a critique. I'm just saying this is a team that has expected to be here for a long time, and they have backed it up. When you see Tennessee, what jumps out at you?
I think balance. I don't think they do have the long ball, But I think this park can neutralize this. They do, kind of like A&M, they have the ability to run, but they really, haven't had to do that at time. Christian Moore and Blake Burke are two premier guys. When you're talking about, they're also being Amick is a guy that I've seen, in the bottom of the first round connected with the Astros. They're a premier talented team. Like A&M, I thought, these are the two most talented teams in this tournament. When Florida played to their talent level, they were a team that was at that level. But, good on good, the reason why, Tennessee ascended to be the number one team in the country is because they had a couple weeks where they've had rough play in front of A&M. A&M had them, and Tennessee then jumped up into the number one spot. I think when you talk about what A&M did in premier matchups against Arkansas, what they've done against a talented Florida team, they're not going to take a back seat to that. I think that when this tournament started, everybody thought these are the two favorites, and I think they were co-favorites then, and I think that this is, they're co-favorites to win the title in a best 2 out of 3. And I don't think either you or Bronny would be shocked if this actually ended up going 3 games, that this would not be 2-game win for either team.
Bronny, you want to follow that up?
Yeah, when I look at when I look at Tennessee, it's complete. I mean, they are complete. And it starts with the guy at the top of their order in Christian Moore, who might be playing better baseball than Jack Caglione was down the stretch. And that's tough to say. I mean, Christian Moore has just been sensational. He hits the ball out of the ballpark. He runs. But it's not just him. Scotty mentioned Blake Burke, Dylan Dreiling, Billy Amick, Kavaris Tears. You go all the way down to the 9-hole in Cal Stark, and this is as complete of a lineup 1 through 9 as there is in the country. It rivals A&M when healthy. It rivals A&M, and these are the two best, most premier lineups in terms of, like, I'm not just talking about pro prospects on them. I'm talking about major leaguers in the lineups, and these are the two most prevalent major league lineups in the country. But I'm sitting there trying to go through, and you do an analysis on Tennessee, and you try to poke holes and find weaknesses, and there's just really not. Much like when teams would do that against A&M in their roster, and they've been really good on the mound. They've got the same combination. They've been pretty consistent in terms of their starters with Drew Beam, Chris Stamos, and then Xander Sechrest. And those guys have, they've really not faced a ton of adversity. Tennessee hasn't. Like, they did mount that comeback against Florida State. I thought that showed me a lot to open up the College World Series. But outside of that, man, they've walked just about everybody. And they walked a lot of teams in the SEC tournament. And, this is a really complete, well-rounded bunch. And A&M, look, if the Aggies were fully loaded and healthy, this was going to be tough to do. It's tough to beat Tennessee. But when the injury's on top of it, it only, makes that hurdle even higher to jump. And I'm not saying A&M can't do it at all. This team believes that they can do it. We've seen enough about, like, the heart and the passion and the gumption and all those things that wrap up to make this team what it is, where you can't just throw it away. Like, that's a real factor now in this Texas A&M team. But if you're looking at just raw talent because of the injuries, and that's the only reason why I'm saying this, because of the injuries, raw talent, I would give Tennessee the edge.
All right. I want to talk through some scenarios when it comes to pitchers for game 1, 2, potentially 3. Ryan Prager threw 95 pitches against Kentucky on Monday. You had Lampkin throwing 70 Wednesday and 42 on Saturday. So how do you foresee the chess pieces that Schloss is going to be able to use? Because he's been known to kind of come out of, from my opinion, left field on certain decisions until you kind of examine it. You're like, oh, yeah, that makes total sense.
I think that I think Ryan Prager, being as intelligent and self-aware as he is, you go to him and ask him, what are you more comfortable doing, starting game 1 or game 2? Because if you start in game 1, it's on 1 day short rest. And I'm sure he wouldn't care, but you want him to be as comfortable as possible, in the best state of mind and frame of mind as possible when he goes out there. So if he says, man, I'd really like to stick to my routine, but I will do whatever, then you let him stick to his routine, I think, and start him in game 2. Then the question becomes then, who goes in game 1? Because we know it won't be Lampkin. And I don't even think it'd be Lampkin on Sunday if it got there. if Prager pitches game 1. I could see Lampkin going game 3 as a starter. But what happens in the game that Ryan Prager and Justin Lampkin don't pitch, whichever game that is, I think that's a super interesting call and one that I'm sure the coaching staff is combing through, today.
Scotty, any thoughts on that?
I think that because they've been able to use Lampkin, how they kind of projected in both games and been able to go to the bullpen on him, I think that they've got a pretty good handle on that. I think that, I would be shocked if Prager doesn't say, yeah, hand me the ball. I mean, he went 2 1/3, gave up 3 hits and an earned run when they played in the SEC tournament. But I think that he was going to be a guy that wants to have the ball. Now, is that going to be the best Ryan Prager? That's what I think that Bronny's talking about. He's going to have a real discussion with the coaching staff, and the trust that's between him and these coaches is to determine where he fits in there the best. I think that the Cortez, who's going to be coming off a kind of a rough outing after being dominant for a period of time, I think that he's going to be fired up and ready to go as well. So I think you have options. You did see, and Tennessee did see some of your other pitching pieces there at the SEC tournament because you were trying to get those guys some action there. And I think that when that, the difference between Josh Stewart in that inning where he gave up 3 runs to Tennessee and kind of broke that game open, and he went from a 4-run game, 4 runs that Tennessee had scored to 7. That doesn't even resemble the Josh Stewart we've seen up here at Omaha. So I think that you would be confident about having him across the line against Tennessee at any point in time. So they need to be excited the way they've pitched. I'm listening to what Bronny had to say there. They struggled with Evansville. I mean, they had trouble. That's why they lost 1 game in Super Regional. So are they bulletproof? No. I mean, they're a team that when they play at their highest levels, like A&M playing at its highest level, and that's what they've done here in Omaha, and they still needed to walk off, a walk-off to win when Christian Moore had the cycle. So it's not like, this team was up against the metal and they passed the test. So I think that that's one of the things about both these teams is they pass tests when they're presented in front of them.
Scotty, Tanner Jones has not started since Grambling, and I believe he's only made one other appearance. That would be the Oregon game. Does he play a role this weekend?
I would think that, he is your next most experienced starter. How does he match up? What does Max Weiner think? What the game plan I can put out there to stop Tennessee? I would think that everybody is on deck. And I think that, if you decide that you're going to have somebody else start a game, he would be one of the candidates because he does have the ability to throw it by Tennessee. And I think that's a key is, if the wind turns around, like they say, this ballpark is going to get big again and some fly balls are going to turn into outs. And I think that Tennessee played well, but, we saw the best of Tennessee when they had a south wind and the ball could really jump off the bat for several guys. But we saw that for Florida as well against Kentucky. And then they didn't have that same kind of success in the night game against the Aggies. So I think that, the Aggies could be confident with running Tanner Jones out there if they think he's the best matchup. And he needs to just trust what the coaches give him, just like what Lampkin did to be ready to go this weekend. So is he, I think the funny thing is uncle caught a home run ball off Dani in the first game, and he was talking about how excited he was there, and that his nephew Tanner Jones was excited to play a factor in the Aggies this weekend. Well, I think that that's still what these guys are excited to do, and he would embrace it the best he could.
Bronny, thoughts on Tanner Jones potentially playing a role this weekend?
I mean, I don't know if it's Tanner, but somebody that hasn't pitched is going to have to pitch and get big outs. I don't know if it's Tanner. I don't know if it's Brad Rudis. I don't know if it's Zane Badmiev or Caden Wilson. They got Weston Moss was up and getting hot the other day, and I thought that was going to be a matchup to go in against Jack Caglione, and he was going to throw him all changeups to see if Caglione's could adjust to his changeup. But somebody that hasn't pitched in Omaha is going to pitch and have to get big outs. And you pick the name, right? And the staff, they could go with Tanner But if I had to make a choice of who they'd go with to start a game, it'd probably be Brutus, right? Because Brad is he's pitched in this environment. You're more comfortable with, he's been more consistent. You're more comfortable with what he's going to give you. Jim Schlossnagle always says, how does he determine the trust on his pitcher is what's his heart rate like when he's out there? And Brad is one of his low heart rate guys. So I think in terms of what it could be, that with the potential stuff, Tanner is probably a little bit better matchup, but Brad may be the more consistent, safer matchup to start a game. But I don't know what they're going to do. They could go Caden Wilson for all we know. So, I mean, you want to match talent. You want to try to match Tennessee's talent. Let's roll the 93 to 97 mile an hour left-hander out there and see what he can give us.
So if it's Brad, let's say, and he gives them 2-3 innings, who do they pair him up with? Is that like a Chris Cortez special like we saw a couple games back?
I would think so. It would depend on what the game looks like, right? If it's close, then you throw Chris. And then if it's still close after Chris is done, you throw Evan. And, like, you're playing for a national championship. You win today and you figure out tomorrow. But it'll all depend on – a lot of this pitching stuff will depend on the conversations that they have with Ryan Prager and Justin Lampkin on how they feel, right? Lampkin, it's good and bad that he hasn't thrown a bunch during the year. Like, he's been up and down, right? And the good part about that is okay, he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear. The bad part is he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear. So is he used to throwing this much, this volume in this period of time, or is he going to need extra rest because it's going to take his body long to recover because he's not acclimated to it? So the pitchers and with Max Wiener are going to have some real discussions about, hey, like, I know you want to pitch. Like, let's get that out of the way. You want to pitch. It's Omaha. It's to lift the trophy. I know you want to pitch, but we've got to be honest about how you feel so that we can make the best decisions for this ball club and how to set up this weekend.
Bronny, can you go a little bit more into the science or the thinking of fatigue and when it comes to a pitcher, like why it takes sometimes 4 days, 5 days to get back? What is it, the legs? Is it the arm? Is it the combination? Just kind of take us through the thinking and the science behind it.
Yeah, I think different kids get sore in different ways. No different than, guy going into the gym. And the way you lift and the way I lift, David, we get sore for different reasons. And and I think that because of body composition has a lot to do with it. Mechanics has a lot to do with it. There are some typical muscle groups that will always get sore when guys throw. But to start talking about it scientifically, first of all, I'm not a scientist. I've never claimed to be one. I'm not a certified orthopedic surgeon or rehab specialist or anything like that. But what I do know is that throwing a baseball is the most unnatural movement, one of the most unnatural sporting movements the human body can make. And so when you do it 80 to 100 times in 100-degree heat, it's going to take some wear and tear. And it's going to take not just the body, but the mind and, like, not just the muscles, right? We're talking ligaments and tendons and all the other things. The central nervous system has got to reset. So adrenaline can help you do that. And if you get run out there in a tight spot with the game on the line and your body may not feel the best, adrenaline can help you through that. But from a starting pitcher's perspective, you want to feel as good as possible. But again, you're playing for a national championship. Some of that is mitigated by what you're about to get on the field and try to win. And it's the ultimate goal.
Scotty, I didn't get your perspective on Justin Lampkin when Bronny was on with us yesterday. Just this version of Justin that we've seen now, a couple of starts in a row. Just your thoughts on how he's getting it done, and then the patience that the coaching staff has shown him.
Well, I think that with a guy that showed, and I think we talked about it last Friday, that I had trust that he was going to be a guy that could go out and do this in the College World Series, because the best of him has been as good as any pitcher A&M has run out there. If you talk about the consistency, Prager has been more consistent at it this year, then Lampkin, then Tanner Jones. But they've all had, performances where you looked at them and said, this is the best of them. This is the highest level that you can have a college guy go out and do it in the SEC, do it in the SEC tournament last year. Now Lampkin, who is pitching with utmost confidence, is doing the exact same thing again. And I think that when he's a little bit like at 115 pitches, I think, and but his ability to get the strikeout while he's been up here and not have the high pitch count has really been amazing. I mean, when you talk about the number of strikeouts, 6 in the first game on 40 plus pitches, 9 this last time. he has done the job in an efficient manner that most strikeout pitchers aren't going to get. He hadn't tried to pitch to contact. He's tried to pitch with his best stuff. And I also think that maybe knowing that he has a short lease has allowed him to go out and have that one inning at a time mentality that I think that Bronny and I and Richard Zane and you have talked about before. They wanted him to go out and empty the tank in an inning and then, talks with Max Weiner after it. What do you still have? And I think that he has embraced that up here because he knew that it wasn't that I'm going to be looked to have a complete game, especially on the first night. Now, to punch the ticket to the championship round, I think that he knew he had a little bit more lease, but the mentality is coming along like they wanted it to be. Go out there and use that fastball. Don't try to pace yourself. And I think that's when you get the best Justin Lampkin you could see.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back with more. We haven't had a chance to talk about a couple of the other storylines. Caden Kent, one of those. We'll get into that on the other side. Right now, if you're not going to Omaha and you're looking to do something fun during the game or maybe after the game, and you just want to have a good old time, you should check out Hush and Whisper, the innovative distillery cocktail lounge founded to defy convention and distill true grain-to-glass spirits in downtown Bryan. It's an awesome place. It feels like you're in the 1930s in the Verisco building. Many of you have been there. It's been there forever. I used to work there back in the day. They offer milled, fermented, distilled, and bottled in Bryan, Texas, white whiskey, original vodka, original gin, and they only source the finest local ingredients committed to the highest quality of production. They are a place where you can enjoy a cocktail crafted with a premium local spirits, but more than that, Hush and Whisper is about inspiring moments of discovery. Here's what you can do when you go there. You can reserve a tour, a tasting, or just a tasting, right? And you're going to learn so much. I did the tour, walked around, and the science behind it. Bronny's not a scientist. Well, these folks here act like scientists because they know how to make the best whiskey in town. Book an event, meetings, celebrations, team building. Come in for a cocktail or a mocktail, buy a bottle, or experience it at home. Gin, vodka, white whiskey bottles are for sale. The website is hushandwhisper.com. You can find them open Thursdays and Fridays 2 to 11 and Saturdays 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. 219 North Main Street in the Verisco building in downtown Bryan is Hush and Whisper. And we are back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the baseball bunch. 2/3 of those guys, Scotty Clendenin and Ryan Brauninger. Bronny, yesterday on the show, you wanted to get into something about Braden Montgomery. We never had a chance to talk about that. I want to talk about, even though he's not playing, you can still feel his impact. And I know you have some strong thoughts on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the smile on his face.
Yeah.
And how incredibly difficult this must be for him to deal with. His third trip to Omaha as a college player, and he can't participate on a team that he has called the best that he's been around in his college years. And that's saying something given how talented that 2023 Stanford team was. And for Braden, it has to be so bittersweet to wheel himself in there and sit at the top of the rail or next to the rail in the dugout and just sit there and watch. And as a competitor, as a great player, as a great teammate, that has got to be just eating it at him inside, and you would never know it. You would never know it. He has been so joyous and grateful and celebratory with his teammates and into every game. I mean, that gif of him pounding the top rail and excitement from the other night, that will live on in Texas. The Aggies will use that on the internet for football games, basketball games. Whenever Billy Liucci breaks a story, like that will be a GIF used for eternity in Aggie land. And so he's provided much more than that, but I thought it just his presence, his happiness, his unwavering spirit for his guys, that has just been so profound for me watching this team play. And there are hundreds of thousands of Aggies that would give their ankle to Braden Montgomery for another week so that he could play. But this is the hand this team's been dealt. I'm sure there are Aggies walking around that would say, hey, Braden, you can have my ankle. Jace, you can have my hamstring. And then Shot, you can have my meniscus, just so this team could be healthy to try to lift the trophy with at full go. So I just wanted to comment on Braden, and he's been so good with us, David, like his interviews and stuff. And every time he comes into our studio, you'd never know that he was one of the top prospects in baseball. He certainly doesn't act like it, right? He acts like just a genuine dude. And every time he comes into the office, he greets us, and with a smile on his face, he shakes our hand, and just been super respectful. And I couldn't be more impressed with him as a player and as a person in his 1 year in College Station.
Scotty, along those lines, I feel like what he just said about Braden, you can say about several guys. Not the heartache of not playing. Obviously, his impact is still being felt. But that team that Schloss has put together with Nolan Kane and the rest of the crew, they all seem to have a very similar disposition.
Yeah, and they have fun playing baseball, and they're good kids to be around. And we get to know them a little bit more personally, especially the guys that come in and do interviews with us. But like, how many of them have come in and you didn't go, David, well, that's a good kid.
Yeah.
Like really, like clean cut, yes sir, no sir, look you in the eye when they shake their hand, and just their interaction, just happy. They're appreciative of what they're getting to do as baseball players at Texas A&M. They appreciate the opportunities to come down and sit in with us, even though I'm sure sometimes they would rather be, at the field or doing something else. You never know that that they have any kind of other feelings of just being appreciative and being happy to play baseball at Texas A&M. And it helps too that when your top players, when your big names are that way, it just kind of permeates the rest of the roster to me.
Scott, we don't get the Caden Kent emergence without the injury. Not that we wanted the injury. Goodness, no. We could use everybody here. But his story has been pretty phenomenal, too, because you lose such a star player, but then Caden Kent comes in and is leading you, batting .455, 2 for 4 the other night with a double and a 1-run and an RBI. Just his story, to me, is also one that, like, is just what makes this season so special.
Without a doubt. And I think that you have a guy that is probably up for the player of the tournament. I think that's so exciting that you have somebody step up and raise his level to try to match what Braden Montgomery has done throughout the whole year. I mean, what his heroics, in that game against Oregon would have been good enough, but he's been consistent, kept his level up, raised it up. Then he has to move over to third base when you get in the late innings, when you have to take Laviolette out of the ball game, and he's ready to go again. Makes a great play defensively. I called him the super sub a couple weeks ago because you didn't know what his role was going to be, but the time was going to come. And he has certainly been the guy that has stepped forward and had no drop off. And I think that's one of the things about this that Caden Kitten needs to be commended for is there has not been a drop off, even though you've taken an All-American and a guy that's going to be drafted, in the first 10 picks out of the lineup. What you've done to help your ball club keeps you at that level. And it's one of those stories for a guy that as surprising as it is, it's as exciting as Aggie fans could be for him to step up and be a 12th man. And I think that's what he has done. He's become that guy that was called off the bench and has performed at the highest level for his team and his university.
Ronnie, I'm actually surprised, but I'm glad there's a lot of people not surprised. I'm surprised that people don't know what good on the hats means. And then I'm not, because this team is capturing the hearts of people who maybe don't follow baseball. Can you kind of give us a reset of where good comes from my good friend Jocko Willink, by the way? Can you give us a little bit of a reset of that? My dear friend.
No, it's it's just a an outlook for life, and it's look it through the lens of good. You hit a double, good. That's a good thing. You strike out, good. I've learned something. I'm only closer to my next double. You get laid off, good. It's another opportunity for me to find a job elsewhere. You get a raise, good. You can provide for your family. So it captures both ends of the spectrum, and it's just a way to keep yourself even-keeled and determined, right, for the next thing. And that's all Jocko was trying to get across with that. And it's easy to say, it's hard to do, just like everything else with this team this year, but they've lived it, right? And they've especially lived it over the last 14 days. And so that belief, that good, gives me, it's hard for me to pick against A&M this week because of they've just been dealt blow after blow. They wobble, they get up, and they go back into the fight. They say, good, let's go back into the fight. And Tennessee's going to land some blows, no question. They're so good. They're so complete of a team. This is a big mountain to climb. But for this ball club and their belief and their toughness and their togetherness and that good mantra, they'll be ready for it. I'm confident that this team is going to be up for the fight this weekend against the Volunteers.
But I ask you, why be so good, Bronny? Why? I'll move on.
You're speechless.
But I ask you. Milliken Reserve time, guys. We'll come back with more Baseball Punch. Farm-to-table community in College Station. They have homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. I love Milliken Reserve. When I drive by it, we bought our veggies there. We've hung out there. You can go hiking, you can go biking, you can go canoeing, you can go kayaking, you can go fishing. You can do all the cool outdoor activities. That's why they created this area. And it's a place for you to not only enjoy the outdoors, but enjoy it with the company of others, with your family. Connect with nature and with each other, with all the beautiful white-tailed deer, the songbirds, the rabbits, the turtles. Homeowners at Milliken Reserve sharing a legacy of conservation, which means generation after generation, you're coming back to that pristine countryside place. It is an enduring resource and a place to come together, to relax and to reflect, to explore and to discover 3 awesome neighborhoods. You got the Creek, the Hollow, the Meadows. The Creek is homes on 10-plus acre wooded estates. You've got the Hollows in a private gated community, and you've got the Meadows. Homes are responsive to that natural surrounding. If you want to learn more, go to millikenreserve.com. That is millikenreserve.com. And we are back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the baseball bunch with Ryan Brauninger and Scott Clendenin. I'm David Nuño here on Friday, June 21st, 2024. The Twins turn 16 on Saturday. Sunday on the 23rd. How about that,
Happy
Brian?
birthday, Christian and Cruz.
Yeah. They're right
Won't
now.
be long before they're putting you in a chokehold.
I'd like to see them try. No.
Both of them at this, yeah. Pummeling.
Those boys, I'm going to be very honest with you. They got the nice gene. I have the mean gene. They have the very nice gene. They are conflict averse. They don't want conflict. They're just nice.
Well, yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Hey, I want both of you.
Mean Gene Nuño is not have the same ring as Mean Gene Okerlund.
No, it doesn't. By the way, I'm watching this WCW documentary. Sorry. It's really good. Mean Gene's all over it. The demise of the WCW, if anybody's watching that. All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center because Matthew Dawson, I know you're not going to read all the texts about this, but this is an interesting thing you told me at the break.
I'm counting.
Hey, before Matthew gets started, the line from Olin this morning about Matthew completely, I mean, that crossed the line.
Absolutely.
4'10"?
You should have slapped him across his face.
Well, I don't have to. He's already in a lot of pain. That guy's got a lot of arthritis going on, so I don't blame him for having a lash out like that.
Matthew. Good for you.
You know, I was talking to him after, and I brought up like Aleve, like the pain medication. He didn't even know what that was.
Well, it was what is his form of pain medication where they bite the wooden steak and then they chop the arm off. That's where all.
Yeah, he's from that part of the woods. Well, what I wanted to bring up was there's at least 8 or 9 folks in the YouTube chat and text messengers that are on their way to Omaha, if not already there. Are we going to have a giant maroon wave in Omaha this weekend?
Well, I'll say this, and I was thinking about this during the break. I actually got asked about that. I did a Fox Sports Radio hit this morning, and they were asking me about ticket prices and flight prices, and I was reading on the boards last night that the flights out of Houston and Dallas are about fully booked. Folks were driving to San Antonio to try to get off flights out of there. And here's the reason why. Number one, this fan base is not going to miss an opportunity to watch their school play for a national championship. Like, who cares about the injuries? I'm not going to miss this, right? I don't care that A&M's the betting underdog. There's no way I'm going to miss Texas A&M playing for a national championship in one of the big 3 sports. Secondly, I think this fan base appreciates this team more than we could even imagine. We know to a certain degree, right, because how good the crowds have been at Bluebell all year. But I also think folks were like looking at Omaha and going, you know, it's a 10-day potential stay. Do we have the financial wherewithal and the life wherewithal to be able to pull that off and see it the whole time? I know some folks came up early and then went back home and now will come back for the final series. But I think this fan base just they want to see this team play again, right? And it's obviously they're playing for the ultimate goal. But I think it's just the fact that you get to watch this group for the final time this year play together. And that is something that the fan base appreciates and quite frankly, this team deserves.
Scott, have you noticed the maroon wave coming in town?
I sure have. I think that, because of Mississippi State and Ole Miss and them winning, 2 titles in the last 3 years for fan bases that were longing for it, when you have A&M and Tennessee in the exact same position, this is going to be an electric atmosphere. You're talking about dividing the stadium in half, even if you're maroon kind of over in the orange section or orange over in the maroon section. This is going to be a loud, amazing atmosphere. This is going to be a great, showcase for college baseball. I think one of the reasons about this being on ABC on Sunday, you can have the same kind of impact on the game as you had with Oklahoma and Texas playing in the Women's College World Series just a few weeks ago. They're making an investment in this to put it on the network so everybody can turn their TV on over the air and watch college baseball. And A&M fans are streaming into town just like Tennessee fans are, and they're ready for a great matchup. And that's what needs to all be about. And Aggie fans, if you can't get in the stadium, you need to still be around the stadium. You need to be over on the soccer field at Creighton at the tailgate and all the things that are going to go on where you can watch this game. Even if you can't get here and get in the stadium, you can make this a kind of atmosphere that rivals anything. We've seen it with the fans that are outside the Alabama game when Johnny was playing in the second year in the SEC, where you just have to be here to enjoy it. And I think that is what this is building towards. And, get your tickets now. Don't wait. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about that the price will fall right before the game starts and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's going to be the case this week. I think you need to get up here and get your tickets and get ready for some great baseball.
Bronny, here's one for you. I found this stat that I was really impressed by. During the 3 games in Omaha, A&M's pitching staff is allowing opponents to go 2 for 29, 069 with runners in scoring position, and 6 for 39, 154 with runners on base. Just brilliant pitching.
Yeah, it's easy to pitch when there's nobody on and 2 outs. It's really tough to pitch whenever you're in pressure situations with multiple runners on and less than 2 outs, is what the Aggies have faced a bunch here in Omaha, and they've made big pitches in big spots. And that's, you listen to those guys talk about it, and Josh Stewart was one of them. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall back to the level of your training. So it only heaps more praise and more plaudits onto the job that Max Wiener has done. And I mean, what more can we say about the guy? And, every year that you keep him in College Station is going to be a blessing. And you are, especially, because he came in as such an unknown, David, that I think there was some folks across the country, and I mean folks, I mean like recruits, whether it's portal or high school kids, that maybe had a little bit of trepidation just because not anything that had to do with Max or him as a person. He's off the charts as a human, or his pedigree really, because everybody talked about him being one of the most rapid risers in the game of baseball on the pitching side. And now there's way less of a, well, let's see. I think he's going to be this way, but I need to see it. Now the proof is in the pudding to go with all the other great traits that he's got as a coach. I think A&M could go into this transfer portal window this summer with some real ammunition to restock and reload whatever pitching is leaving.
Hey, Scotty, so I'm looking at some of these players, Blake Burke and Christian Moore, and what Tennessee's able to do offensively. And a stat that I found, 7 of 14, those two combined in the 3 games have combined for 11 runs, 8 RBIs. Moore went 5 for 6 in the opener against Florida State, becoming the second player ever to hit for the cycle in the College World Series. Some crazy numbers there.
They are. And talking about them being a complete team. I think A&M they can have a tendency to throw the ball around, though. Defensively, they can have some shaky moments and open the door for it. Florida State had some opportunities. They didn't take advantage of it in both games. I think that, they're able to overcome that with their level of pitching. And then, Causey's a guy that just gets overlooked. You look at all their offense, all that. They have some guys on the mound and Causey, who's, over, I think he's got 12 wins now. But they turn it on in the batter's box. And Christian Moore sets the tone. I mean, when you look at, in the first game against A&M, you're talking about, a guy who, had RBIs and multiple hits. And then you drop down and you see that, Tiers had a big home run in that game that broke it open there at the end, the 3-run shot off Stewart. So, I think that they believe in their offense like A&M does. They think they're going to get that big hit. They believe in their pitching staff. I think it's defensively where A&M has an advantage, the way they've been able to play defensively, even with some mix and match things they've done, due to the injuries. And I also think that, you're going to get an even better version of Jace Lavalette a couple days removed with a couple days off when he's back in the outfield. I mean, that was such an atypical play, but I did think that I liked the coaching aspect of that, hey, don't crash into this wall. Don't do something that's going to take you off of the out of the batter's box out there in the outfield. I'm expecting nearly a full version defensively of Jace Lavalette, when the ball comes his way on Saturday, Sunday, and hopefully on Monday.
Scotty, I just got a text from a friend of ours, mutual friend, Philip Vargas. He tells me that you're there with your son, John. So how cool of an experience is that for you to be there at the, as a baseball guy as you are, to be sharing that moment with your son, something you guys have done for years at the highest level?
It's been tremendous. I mean, he's got a lot of FaceTime, down there with around the families. He's had a great time with the Foxes and the Canes, and he played ball with Jace Hutchins when they were growing up, so he's been around the Hutchins his whole life. So yeah, it's been fun. I left the press box about 10 minutes before Father's Day began because A&M was still in the middle of that game, and went down and watched the rest of that game with him. So it's been tremendous. I think that this is this is still a family type sport where people get out and they're able to enjoy this. Family groups, are all here. And the crazy thing is, family I saw, at the restaurant after the game the other night was Tanner Jones and his whole family. 8, 9 family members in from Alabama to enjoy this, moment with his team and with his family. It's exciting, and I'm looking forward to celebrating again, because I think that's one of the things about this is all of this has been a celebration of Aggie baseball. And to get to the ultimate celebration is to win 2 more games.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back with a short segment on the other side. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. If you've purchased a vehicle from Caldwell Country, you know exactly how it's going to go. It's going to go great, right? The customer service, second to none. The selection of vehicles, incredible. The ease, all of it. It is fantastic. The trade-in value for your own vehicle as you go there to try to get something for that car, they're going to take such great care of you. They're a proud supporter of Aggie Athletics and really just of this entire community, and that's the place to go when you're looking for a vehicle, whatever state you're in, or stage you're in, I should say. When you're thinking about a vehicle, and it could be in a couple of months, it could be right now, consider Caldwell Country Chevrolet. About a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell, a short conversation away, but trust me, you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. It is on Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Ronnie, what did I say earlier that made you laugh?
What did you say earlier that made you laugh?
No, that made you laugh. I said something, and then I saw you on camera just like.
Was it the? I asked you why Rollo Insurance?
No, it was after. It was in the last segment. I was wondering, did I have another Nuñoism?
No. We've had some people just show up and try to distract me in this last segment. So there's 5 people in this living room now. When I started this radio show, there was just me.
Hey, so I said this in bank on it. And I look, maybe I'm asking for too much, but I'm banking on Jace to get to 30 home runs this season because we're going to see a couple from him this weekend. I know you're not going to do predictions of offense, but are you seeing something that makes you feel like, all right, maybe Jace is close to breaking through?
I mean, Jace has been getting on base at a super high rate, but I don't know, like that. He's essentially swinging with one leg. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever he can do offensively, you take. And if he can run into a ball and get one out of the yard, like his swings the other night, his exit velos were down like 5 or 6 miles an hour. So that leg is clearly probably bothering him in the batter's box too. So whatever you get out of Jace, you get out of Jace. But he's a warrior, man. If the only way he's not going to play is if that leg falls off.
Scotty, got about 10 seconds here. Your thoughts on how this weekend plays out?
I like A&M because I think they can play defense and not have free base runners on, and they have been excellent when runners have been at third less than 2 outs. That's been a huge key for A&M to advance in championship. Pitching can get this done for A&M this weekend.
Show Richard some attention,
That's
please.
like the longest 10 seconds, Scott. That was extremely long. Brawny didn't want me to steal his airtime, and also 2 dudes on the casting couch? Question mark.
Go to break. I'm done here.
Yeah, it's been a good show until the end.
Billy Liucci next on TexAgs Radio. We're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the hotline. Billy Liucci just got a text of mine. Hopefully he won't disclose that information. Welcome, Billy. Good morning, buddy.
What info am I disclosing?
I don't know. We're just texting.
What we're texting about?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I wouldn't do that. Even I have my limitations.
How are you, buddy?
Great. Walking home from breakfast. Going to get ready. And today's presser, I mean, this is the big presser today, like the car wash type thing. So I'm going to go head to that at the stadium. I think that's at 11:30, and then have a free afternoon here in Omaha.
Well,
it's such a weird, man. You have no idea. I mean, you do have an idea because you're seeing how long it's, but like, it's such a great event, but it's such a weird, expensive event to attend, but also to cover. It just from the standpoint of, we've had how many people up here providing great coverage all week. They all went to their Airbnb yesterday to do laundry. But we've got Airbnb. We've got me with a hotel. You've got, I mean, I'm going to end up being here from potentially, and this is missing a game, right? From potentially Sunday till the following Tuesday. And our group's been here, which is going to essentially be 2 full weeks. And they're going to have left on Wednesday, and then they're going to be, they might have left Tuesday night in the middle of the night, and they're going to come back two Tuesdays later. I've always joked when we're sending people to March Madness, like, those things are expensive, but this is a whole other level. March Madness is different too. Like, you go to a Final Four and you don't get anything in Dallas, San Antonio, or Houston. You're going SEC tournament, then very short notice, flying somewhere to a regional, then flying somewhere to the second round, second weekend, and then a Final Four. So these things are wild. We go to extreme lengths for the TexAgs subscribers around here.
But isn't that the greatness of the company that you've built, Billy? And I'm bragging about us. So, like, we have crews all over the place, man. We have gone to the NIT, to the finals. We go everywhere, and you have shown, like, we have a crew, not just 1 or 2 people. We have a crew out there covering this.
Yeah, and y'all need to talk, like an on-air meeting. Y'all need to talk about whether or not we need to do the live show from here Monday and Tuesday. Y'all can discuss that. I don't know what's best for the listening experience. So anyway,
so
file that one away on your notes.
All right, I'm writing them down as we do things here. Hey, so a couple things about this series in particular with Tennessee. You're looking at 2 programs that are looking for firsts, right? You have a team.
TexAgs Radio.
All
right, sorry.
You have a program in Tennessee that expected to be here, but has had some misfortune the last couple of years on their journey. And this year, they're firing on all cylinders. They've only had really 1 hiccup this entire time. You got a team in A&M also looking for their first that has been knocking on the door since Schloss got here. But this A&M team, as good as they've been, keeps facing different adversity. Yet they're still in the same place. A&M 8-0 in the postseason. And taking on Tennessee, the number 1 team. Like, there's a lot of cool storylines just between these 2 programs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, we're not acting, I mean, factual, like what Texas A&M has gone through, gone through in recent weeks to get here, but just this climb under Slosh, and we're talking about, and again, factually, how this just feels like a team of destiny. It just does. And for them to suffer the injuries they've suffered, and you go back and you look, they hit a little slump. I pulled out some bookmarks yesterday on Twitter, and it wasn't to embarrass anyone. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of was, because it was like, a lot of those were like so over the top that I just want people to realize our fan base, when they're on social media and they're just like frustrated over the course of a basketball or baseball season, like we were really close to potentially doing the same thing in basketball. And I'm not saying playing for it. I don't think A&M, that team, could have beaten Purdue or UConn and played for a championship. But I think had they beaten U of H, they'd have had a very, very real chance to be in the Final Four. And that team was written off, thrown on the bus, and discarded. On that one, even we were like, not that, just like, God, they doesn't look like they can make the tournament. You know, they're at the very last brink of being able to make the tournament, right? But people really went in on whether it was Buzz or Wade or the team, and just how what a disappointment. And they were shockingly doing the same thing in baseball, which to me, they never hit a slump. They simply weren't playing at nearly the level that we had gotten used to seeing as they climbed to, number one. The slump was dropping 2 or 3 on the road to what ended up being a red hot LSU team, the defending national champs. 2 or 3 at Ole Miss. That one was a bad weekend. And then within that same slump, quote unquote, they won 2 out of 3 against top, then number 3 Arkansas. An SEC tournament, I think, set people off because they go, oh no, we're not going in with any momentum. I just want people to understand how much of a grind the season is, and it happens to most. A&M won, I think, either the same number or one less game in the SEC this year than the national champs LSU did last year. They're now 8-0 in the postseason. They haven't flipped the switch. It wasn't like they just got to the postseason and hit 14 home runs at home to just blow everybody out. They were, a different team at home than they are on the road. No, they ground out a Texas win. They had a couple of, uncharacteristic starting efforts against Oregon and rallied. And then you had all the injuries. So they have fought tooth and nail, and their path here in Omaha has been exceptionally tough. To play a hot Florida team that's got as much talent as pretty much anyone. They pull some guy on game 4 deep out of the bullpen. He comes in there throwing 96. I'm like, that's the difference in Florida and some of these high-level SEC teams in a lot of places. Other fans are probably like, who's this Josh Stewart guy? And they're looking at, if they're looking at his season stats, and he comes in and he looks unhittable. And so that's the difference between high-level SEC and other things. But A&M's high-level SEC. They're high-level college baseball, period. And the beauty of it is after a run like this, they're only getting better. But I just, the way people there's always a path to get there when you're talking about college basketball and college baseball. And I just I want people to, you can get frustrated and everything, but don't start, bemoaning what a disappointment a team's set to be, or, meltdown before it's even a meltdown, things like that. And that was kind of the point on it. But yeah, Tennessee's been there. Tennessee did have the meltdown. Tennessee did what people were afraid A&M was going to do when they entered this postseason. Tennessee lost to Notre Dame in their Supers. It was a massive upset. That was allegedly the greatest team of all time. And they got back last year, couldn't quite finish the job. And now they're here to finish it in year 3. That's been their path back from thinking they were going to cruise to the title 2 years ago. It's been a 2-year path back, and here they are. And we all know that they're freaking good. This will be the best team A&M's played all year, and I don't think it's close. What they can do on the mound, we all know what they can do hitting. So, this is as tough as it gets. But, by the way, Texas A&M will be the best team that Tennessee's played all year.
Billy, something that you mentioned kind of sparked a thought yesterday on the show. I was kind of complaining, but I didn't mean it to be a complaint. It was more I wanted people to wake up to, instead of like, I have somebody very close to me who was texting me before that Florida game, giving me all the reasons why A&M was going to lose. And I'm like, dude, can you enjoy the journey? Enjoy this. This is special.
Yeah.
This is not something like, hopefully this becomes routine, that we see A&M in the College World Series every year. They've done it 2 out of the last 3 years. But if you can't enjoy this, are you only going to enjoy the end? Because then you didn't enjoy the journey.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know what to say. You're right. I mean, but that's just personality types. We all have those friends. We all have, people that'll be like that. And sometimes that's how they need to be to fully enjoy it, I think. They want to run the gamut. That's one thing that they want to run the gamut of emotions. See, me, I hate feeling that way, but I can't resist it. I get very nervous and, sitting there thinking of the worst because you just want it so bad. But you don't go around convincing yourself that the worst is going to happen. You certainly don't go around, trying to drag everyone down in your own little self-defense mechanism. Those are the ones that bother me the most. But it doesn't matter because we're here. And guess what? You go to the World Series 10 times and not make it to this point. Tony Vitello's had some great teams. This is his first time here. Jim Schlossnagle is in his 7th trip here as a head coach. It's his first time here. It is hard to get to the final. And once you're there, you may as well win it because you don't know when you're getting back. Schloss doesn't know when he's getting back. A&M doesn't know when the Aggies don't know when they're getting back. He can have better baseball teams, but as good as this one is, their recruiting is only going to go up. There might be a year when they sign 2 Braden Montgomerys in the portal. There might be a year when they have, Gavin Grahovic as a freshman of the year and a pitcher that's a freshman of the year. They could have 2 Pragers in their starting rotation. That's the level of recruiting and portaling they're about to be doing. It guarantees you nothing. Look at Arkansas and Dave Van Horn. You're here. Get it done. Look at Florida State and Mike Martin, the legend, who they were playing for this year. How many times had they been? 21 or whatever, and they've never won it. So, yeah, man, it is, you're here. You are at the mountaintop. There's just one other person up there that you need to throw off.
Well,
sounds kind of morbid, but it's true. You need to take Vitello and the Vols and knock them off of the mountaintop because there's only one flag to be planted.
I kind of want to take this multiple ways, Billy, because there's the baseball perspective, right? That the whole nation is watching, and these numbers, the ratings have been through the roof for the College World Series. But everybody's watching what A&M and Tennessee are doing, right? People are taking notice, and there are recruits and there are transfers that are like, I want to be there, right? That there's something happening right now that is catching the attention of the next Braden Montgomery. But also, Billy, these last 3 weeks, and what is sometimes a dead time for this community, for this university, from Kyle Field having the soccer match to George Strait to this happening right now, all this spotlight has been such great just mojo for our university.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about that at breakfast. It's funny you say it, 20 minutes ago. And congratulations to everyone that's been able to do all 3. And I know not everyone can, and a lot of this stuff isn't cheap. People have family obligations. People have summer trips planned. I get it. But if you're able to do all 3, you can go to that soccer match and watch A&M in the regionals, super regionals in Omaha, and mix in, Parker and George. Pretty memorable summer. I'm still going to go try to get a couple, weekend trips in between now and the season because I might go stir crazy if I don't. But, I mean, this has been a memorable summer, memorable June in Aggieland. And it could be unforgettable if the Aggies are able to pull this off. But how fun. Credit everybody that helped those, because I know a lot of them listen, and they're not head coaches and they're not star athletes, but credit everyone at A&M that made those events happen. And it's a long list, and any of you listening, like, thanks, from me and from everybody else, because it's been so well orchestrated and put together, from making that soccer match look like you were in a foreign country, to look like you were watching a World Cup in Argentina versus George Strait and Parker, which I've always wondered how would a concert come off in Kyle. And what I really wondered about were the acoustics. I talked to Stage Left beforehand, and he was really fascinating to see. And I thought it sounded incredible at every spot in the venue I was at. And just everything they did has been incredible. And then they've also been in the middle of it, putting on a regional and super regional, and everything went off without a hitch. So that's incredible. But it was a fun time. Tell you what, winning 2 games against Tennessee will be more fun than all of it. I can promise you that.
Yeah, Billy, I do want to talk about the interesting thoughts on pitching, right? Not that I expect you to get into the minutia, the brawny stuff, but like they got some decisions to make.
By the way,
yes, sir.
Real quick, by the way, I just got a text, and it's so true. And one of the people I was talking about, and he knows who he is because he's listening. And I may or may not have run into his dad yesterday at the hotel, so that was a pleasant surprise. But a lot of credit to my man, the General Welsh.
Yeah.
And absolutely, President Welsh. Like, these things don't have, there's one ultimate sign-off, and it's not just the sign-off, but you got to be a leader that encourages, this, David, ideas like that, and then supports them and moves mountains to get them done. And there's always got to be someone at the top that does that, and they have to believe in the vision, and they have to. I think we are in as good a place as we've ever been at that spot at this university. I go back to like President Gates, now President Welsh. I think there's been nothing against anyone in between, but it's just been, to me, it's been a long time since I've felt this way about someone at the top of the pyramid here at A&M. So that's a good point.
President Welsh, we want you here in studio at some point. We'd love to chit chat with you.
So he wants to be. He would love that. Actually, we've talked about that. I think he would love nothing more. I think he and I would have some fun too. He's great conversation.
We'll certainly set that up. Hopefully after a national championship. Billy, before we hit a break, I wanted to ask you about I don't want to say it's a dilemma, but the interesting questions about who you start game 1, who you start game 2, and Bronny brought up the fact that you got to ask Prager how he feels, what he wants to do. But that other game that Prager doesn't pitch, because I'm thinking Lampkin's obviously that last game based on rest. Whoever, it's just an interesting,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You're right, Dave. It's so interesting. And it does. I had to jump in because, Lampkin, based on rest, should be that last day. But if you throw Prager game 1 and if you're down 0-1, do you literally run the risk of walking away into the off season without trotting Lampkin out there to pitch against Tennessee? Like that would be very, even though I'd be on 2 days short rest and it would be his third outing. He pitched 40 pitches and then he went, what did he go the other day? Five full. Is that what it was? 5 full innings?
I believe you're correct.
Or was it 6?
No, it was 6. It was 6.
Okay, so 6. So you got a little deeper, but you'd love to give him full rest and have him going in game 3, but you might have to play it by ear and see how game 1 goes. And then the question is, it would, in a perfect world, you could go Prager, then Lampkin. But really the perfect world would be win game 1 and know you've got Prager and Lampkin still to go. But it's hard to imagine not going Prager in game 1 because I think Prager pitched what, Sunday? No, Prager pitched Monday. So Monday to Saturday, in a perfect world, you'd go Monday, Sunday, I think, with him, and then you'd go Lampkin Wednesday to Monday. That would feel like the best case scenario, but somebody's going to have to step up massive in game 1 to get that done. Or do you say, hey, Prager, you're a freaking stud. It's going to be your last college game. can you go out there and pitch like you always pitch? It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I don't know if Slosh will say anything today or not. You might hear the start and pitching announcement tomorrow, but like tomorrow early or something like that. But man, he's got a tough decision. And I'm not even being coy here like I was. I knew Lampkin was pitching by the Monday after. That was, and those things are for the coach too. Now, if you go back and listen, I'm trying to tell people, like, it doesn't have to be Prager. It doesn't have to be Prager. This is, and this one, I'm not being coy at all. Like, I do not know what, how they're going to do it. We may find out here in about an hour, but they've got tough. I think that's a tough decision on what you want to do, because you might be throwing two guys both on 2 days short of rest. But if you play this little game, this waiting game, you might go and you're running the risk of not pitching either one of them. But you also set up the possibility that in a deciding game, you've got one of your two guys that have been lights out. Your guy that's been lights out all year that almost threw a no-hitter in his last outing at the stadium. And you've got another guy who's been completely lights out here in Omaha.
I think it goes back to what Bronny said, though. How does Prager feel? If Prager thinks, dude, I'm 100%, yep, you pitch him game one. If he's like, I can do it, but I'd be better tomorrow, then you take your chances with hopefully stealing game one, if you will, and having Prager, Lampkin back-to-back the last two.
And that's the benefit of having Max Wiener, a coach like him, and a coach that's done it for so long, like Slosh. He's had so many great pitchers go through TCU, and then even a short time here at A&M. Like, he knows how to get honesty out of his guys. And with Max, those players know they can be honest with him. If there's ever a coach I think there's a no judgment zone with, it's Max Wiener. And so I think they'll get the right answer, and Prager will know he can be as honest as he needs to be. But yeah, man, that's ideal. If you get the real Ryan Prager, and that guarantees you nothing, it guarantees you nothing against that lineup. And he pitched against him a few innings, or in Hoover, but it guarantees you nothing. But if you get the real Prager, you've got a real chance to win game one, and then you can choose to sit Lampkin one more day, because you're going to play him. You're going to pitch him, unless you're hoisting a trophy up too. So it's one of a million decisions they're having to make right now. And the second part of that has everything to do with Chase's injury. Otherwise, I think all they'd be deciding on really is the pitching. I think you'd see that same lineup we've seen since Braden's hurt. But the Jace injury, kind of has everything, I would think, in flux. And hopefully these last few days have been good for him.
Billy, let's hit a break here. We'll come back with more. Billy Liucci is live in Omaha, getting ready for Game 1 of the finals of the College World Series. Right now, we're talking Costa Vida. Hi, Holly. How are you? I know you're listening because you're always listening. Baja-inspired Mexican restaurant. It is the place for fresh Mex, made your way exactly the way you love it. Everything is fresh and scratch-made. You can taste the difference there at Costa Vida, where every ingredient does matter. And there you pick your entree, you pick your protein, you pick your veggies, and you're just going to have a great time there. And you can top it off with some amazing house-made sauces, roasted green chili tomatillo, cilantro, red enchilada, salsa fresca, salsa, honey habanero, you name it. Holly's been in this community for a long time, but here's the thing. She wanted to bring Costa Vida to this community because she wanted to bring fresh Mex that's something different than you're getting from other places, right? You can have the Tex-Mex. This is fresh Mex. It's done exactly the way you love to do it. And by the way, they absolutely love the Aggie baseball team. They've got the home run combo, which you've got to go support right now in the College World Series. It comes with the home run combo is a favorite of Jace Lavalette and number 12 Ryan Targach. An entree with sweet pork enchiladas smothered in house-made queso, rice and beans, a large drink for $11.99. Go support those guys. Go support Costa Vida in South College Station, 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station is Costa Vida. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go back to the hotline. Billy Liucci is in Omaha. We're talking baseball. We'll be doing it most of this hour, as you can imagine. Billy, here's something that I think is something that we've talked about, but maybe not under this template. Being elite when you need to be elite. And, like, we've seen it from Lampkin. We've seen it from Prager. We've seen it from Caden Kent. Like, when the stakes are at the highest, we've seen some elite pitching moments, offensive moments, when you absolutely needed it, and that has to be part of the storyline. And Billy Liucci is not there. That was a good call.
David?
Hey, buddy. There you are.
I'm back. I had you muted. Yeah, you mentioned a few of them, and it's like, how much time you got? Where do you stop? How did you just do what you just did and not mention Hayden Schott?
Right.
Playing with a torn meniscus and hitting the way he's been hitting. Really been just on fire since that Texas game. What about the clutch at-bats from Caden Sorrell? You know, home run back-to-back games. I think I think they were both in the regional. Obviously, the massive home run against Texas to even that score and get A&M on the board when they were struggling to hit. And then, obviously, the other night with regardless, that's an iconic home run in A&M history. That's to hit that thing in Omaha in a win against Florida to push you to the final. But if the Aggies end up winning it, how much bigger does that look? So yeah, it could just go up and down the list, and who knows what's to come. You go up and down that list, it might end up being Jay Slavalette with 3 home runs against Tennessee pitching, or Gavin Grahovec, who certainly appears to have heated up. He found his swing with some stud Florida pitching the other night. So who knows where it's going to come from, and that's the beauty of this lineup. That's the beauty of this pitching staff. I mean, what Josh Stewart has done here has been remarkable. And then, so who knows?
Yeah, and I really feel like, not that Jace is due, because I know what he's dealing with, so due's not the right word, but I would not be surprised if he gives us a weekend that we're like, that's the Jace we know. You know, and I know he's dealing with so much, but that's just the kind of belief I have in him, Billy.
Yeah, no question. I mean, people fear him, you know. People fear him around the country, especially around this league. Tennessee's going to fear throwing to him, and then there's a reason why. Because he can change a game with one swing of the bat. He can change a series with a couple swings of the bat. I mean, he's that good. I mean, he's a future MLB star, in my opinion. And even hurt, even slowed down, they're going to be very tentative pitching to him this weekend.
All right, Bill, let's hit a break. We'll come back with another one. I've got something for you that kind of crosses football and baseball. I want to bring it up to you about the sleeping giant that is A&M. We'll get into that here on the other side. You're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Right now, a moment for Heritage Films. They make documentary films. I said this, I think it was yesterday. It's a good idea. So those of you who are going to capture this moment, right? You're going to Omaha or you're with your family. Imagine having Chance McClain capturing that moment for you and making it a documentary of how you and your son got to go, like Scott Clendenin and his son, John, are there in Omaha. Imagine Chance and his crew being an eye in the sky during this whole Omaha experience and videoing and interviewing him after the Florida win, after the Kentucky win, and hopefully after the after the Tennessee win, having all that and just the experiences and kind of sharing old times into a 2-hour documentary form. That's just part of what Chance does. He does these documentaries for awesome moments, but he does them for family patriarchs. You got your family business, your family ranch. He can tell that story in a 2-hour documentary, and it is the best you can imagine. You can also do a Yearflix 20-minute Q&A video reserved for the younger kids in the audience, maybe like Matthew Dawson when he graduated from A&M. That would have been a cool benchmark video, even before when he got his Aggie ring, when he got to Texas A&M. These 3-part series right there, 20 minutes each. Chance does it the best. The phone number is 713-893-8341. The website, yourheritagefilm.com. 713-893-8341, yourheritagefilm.com. TexAgs Radio, the Friday before. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. This show's presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Let's go back to the hotline. TexAgs executive editor, co-owner Billy Liucci with us. Billy, some breaking news in the last 3 minutes. This is kind of expected news. Aggies collect 4 All-Americans from Baseball America. Jace Lavalette earning a spot on the first team, while Braden Montgomery and Evan Oschenbeck garner second-team honors. Starting pitcher Ryan Prager with a third-team honor for him. So there you go. That just came down here in the last few minutes.
Well deserved, man. This is a great team with great players who have had great seasons, and in a couple of those instances, the guys that have been here the longest, great careers. The guys that were here, just incredible careers for Prager and Oschenbeck, and like legendary stuff. We're going to be saying the same thing about Jace a year from now. We're going to be saying the same thing about Gavin, 2 years from now. And we're going to be saying the same thing about all these players, no matter what, but especially if they get 2 more wins. Tell you what I've loved seeing. I almost called you. I was about to say Lou, and I was about to say Nuño, so I was about to say Luño. Not to be confused with Oluño, the first hour of the show. So I didn't want to confuse it with Oluño. I can see that on one of those like Spanish TV channels. Oh, Oluño, and that's like kicks off, and you and Olin and your zany antics. But I've watched, followed, covered, watched, cheered for, fought battles for A&M athletics and sport teams for so long. We all know I've been doing it my whole career. I haven't had another job. And sometimes you run into teams or players that deep down, and they're my friends in a lot of instances, and sometimes I don't really know them, but you can instantly see these guys from a mile away, that don't really want any future teams to have the success theirs did. And they don't really want a player at their position to be better than them. And it's just something, it has to do with the competitive nature that I understand it, that made a lot of these guys great. And that's how they got there. It's like, hey, I'm the best. I'm going to stay the best. I want to be the best forever. My team, and you believe in your team, and nothing you ever see can change that, right?
Right.
I get it, but it makes me have that much more of an appreciation for the players and athletes that just want to see A&M better than when they were there. And they want to see a player come in and break their records. And they want to see a team that, wins a title that they couldn't win or replicates what they were, those are the real guys. And those are the real ones because they're confident. But what I've dealt with these baseball guys, whether you're a former player, like going back to and I go back a certain way. So I met a lot of those 89 guys when they were here, and they couldn't be more excited about this team. And they want, in other words, the anti-72 Dolphins, right? They want A&M to win the whole thing. They want them to get that trophy that they couldn't get, and they want to see it happen for them. It would be I think, cathartic for a lot of them. It would be something like, God, we've been waiting so long to see the Maroon and White hoist that. All the way through the guys I went to college with, and like the Dalen Holt, the Kyle Culligan, so many of them have either messaged me, reached out. I watched their social media. The team from 2 years ago that came a few steps short. Those guys, I know it's kind of gone viral, the tweet where Jack Moss is saying he needs to find his way up there, and Gillen Ross in the replies, Micah Dallas, and they're like, let's go. There's no envy, jealousy, anything Aggie baseball right now. These guys, anyone that's put on the uniform is like, come on, guys, let's win this thing. And they want them to achieve the ultimate success. And I'm telling you, that's not always the case in college athletics, especially with former athletes that are no longer playing. It's been cool to see.
Billy, follow me here because I look at what's happening with baseball as a precursor to what could happen in football. And the reason I say that is forever we've said you get the right guy in there, national championships are going to happen. And we're seeing that with baseball, that knocking on the door, 2 wins away from a national championship because they got the right guy and the right staff behind him. And we've been hoping for that in football. And I'm hoping this could be a precursor to what we see on the football side.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and I do think it's harder in football. I think it's hard. Winning a national championship in baseball might be the hardest. Well, yeah, it might be the hardest, actually. I think if you went through all three of the sports and you said best team winning it or playing for it, best couple teams playing for it, best team, baseball might be the least frequent we see that. There's nothing more than the fact that Tennessee's trying to be the first number 1 overall seed since when to win it? 20 years or something like that? It's something wild. I think it's like 20 years. But so it's not about winning. It might be the hardest for the best teams in baseball. But there's a quicker path, I think, in baseball and basketball to get there through the portal these days because you just have smaller teams. And in baseball, you go get Paul Steen, and it changes everything for weekend series, for super regionals, to pitch them twice in Omaha. It changes everything. So, but football, yeah, it's about hiring the right guy, and it's about hiring a guy that the way he runs his program every day, the way he disciplines his athletes, and even the culture he creates for his athletes and coaches every single day, the way the plan for the portal, the plan for recruiting, the plan for roster building and management, every single day, to monitor what effect the MLB draft might have, what effect the NFL draft might have, way out in front, almost to a paranoid level. Those are the kind of guys that do it, and they've got that in Slosh. And man, everything I know about Mike Elko, I absolutely believe that. And that goes back to when he was in D.C. here. And ever since he took the head coaching job, I've talked to him a lot. I've talked to people a lot. I haven't had one indication that I'm wrong about that. And I fully believe in that. So, yeah, I think it's a great setup. I just don't know. Slosh made it to essentially his Final Four in year one. That's the way they started that baseball season. In football, you never even get a chance to go that far. If it takes time to ramp up, that's what basketball and baseball seasons kind of allow you to do. So, Elko opens his tenure against Notre Dame, and 2 weeks later he's playing in the Swamp at Gainesville. So it's tougher, but I do believe that he's the guy, and I believe the results are going to show that in very short order.
Billy, by the way, is Miami the last team to be the 1 seed to win the College World Series. That happened when I graduated college in 1999.
Whew, man. Not going to tell you what else happened that year. I think that might have been – no, that was the 98 season. Tennessee winning the national title. That was 98 season. So we're okay. We're in the clear. We're good. We're winning it.
All right, let's hit a break. By the way, Brent Venables just signed an extension. I don't know if you saw that. 6-year extension at Oklahoma.
Good for him. I don't know where exactly he was going, but good for him.
Yep. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with some final thoughts here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Final segment of the program. It's time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving up your favorite pizza here in Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pepperoni rolls and reliable in-house delivery, bringing popping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Billy, as we continue down this trek here, I wanted to bring this up to you. I don't know if you saw, Alex Caruso traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Josh Giddey. He's on the final season of a 4-year, $37 million contract, but he's eligible for a 4-year extension at approximately $80 million.
Say that again.
Alex Caruso traded to Oklahoma, and last year of his contract, where he made $37 million over 4 years, he can extend it to $80 million.
Okay, the extension part is what I meant, but yeah, I heard about that yesterday. That's pretty. I don't know. I don't know. Was that expected that he was going to end up leaving Chicago? I hadn't heard anything about it. I was actually around in my Memorial Day weekend. I didn't know if he was expected to be shipped out. But damn, what a great place to land if you're Alex Caruso, and what a great addition to the OKC Thunder. First of all, a little closer to home, which is always great. Great for his parents. I'm sure they were excited. But and they're here in Omaha, by the way. I saw them the other day. But yeah, I mean, that's a championship contending team. They could be playing. They could have been playing in the finals this week had they gotten by the Mavs. I mean, that was a mild upset there for Dallas to beat them. And that was a competitive series. They're so young. That's probably the youngest, most talented, like young, exciting to watch young team in the NBA. And you're going to add a now veteran Caruso, who's got a ring, who stepped into a larger role in Chicago, and we know what he brings on the defensive side, and we know what he brings as a facilitator. So, yeah, that to me would certainly make that OKC team that much more dangerous. I'm sure they'll be in the conversation for the NBA championship contention next year.
I know this is your favorite type of radio, so I'm going to ask it. What do you think the keys are this weekend?
Oh, man. I think for A&M, it's just doing what they've been doing and keeping guys off base in particular when, you just can't. Tennessee is going to hit some extra base hits. They're going to hit some home runs. I mean, it's what they do. And I think it's just keeping guys off base when they hit them. I mean, I'm not saying that shouldn't be bombs away. I trust A&M's pitching more than that, but they're going to make good contact, and they're going to drive baseballs, and the key will be just not putting guys on base cheaply, and the Aggies have done a great job of that. How many times did tags come up in 2 games in this series where it was like a real trouble spot? And it was very few in 2 games against them. I mean, Kentucky, the Aggies have been able to work out trouble. Against Tennessee, that gets a lot harder because there's so many guys in that lineup that you don't want to work yourself out of trouble against. So just don't give up the cheap stuff. That would be number one. I think continue to get strong starting pitching. I think if they get strong starting pitching, this team can win a national title. I mean, we know they can. And they can beat even a team like Tennessee with strong start pitching because I think Cortez can bounce back and be filthy this weekend. We know what Oshimbeck is. And now you've got how much has that equation changed when now you talk about Josh Stewart and the way he's pitching. So if you can get those starters through the lineup even a couple times, you got guys that can carry you to the finish. And then offensively, I would say, David, just keep doing what you're doing. Get great at bat, get on base against elite pitching. They're going to have to draw walks too. That's going to be a big key.
No doubt about that, Billy. Well, it looks like you're having a blast. Let's come home with a championship. We'll catch up with you. Obviously, keep it with TexAgs.com for all the coverage, but we'll catch up with you on Monday.
All right, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Billy Liucci there on the hotline. Let's try to get one or two text messages in the last minute of the program. Matthew Dawson.
Sure thing. Sam from Giddings says, my comments before last game, gig 'em. Florida swept the floor with Kentucky this morning and looks scary against an injury-ridden Aggie team. However, I like our coach and this team. Let's go. He feels the same way this weekend. Schloss is the dude. The X factor I haven't heard mentioned is the defense we lost when Braden went down. His cannon arm with Jace's arm in the center could keep guys from going first to third. Hope it doesn't come into play. Gig 'em. Let's get this done.
Let's try to get one more in. I think we have a little time.
Love what this baseball team is doing. It's the 100-year anniversary of E. King Gill. Graduation seems fitting from Scott, class of '88. And I agree because of the next man up mentality that this team's had to have.
Matthew, great job this week, buddy. Folks, I hope you're enjoying the show, but I hope you enjoy Saturday, Sunday even more, and hopefully we can talk about a championship, if not Monday morning, Tuesday morning. It's been a fun week, one of the most fun we've had here the last month or so. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Keep it with TexAgs.com. We will see you on Monday, but we'll see you hopefully after the game on TexAgs. Bye.